Welcome to Jump Scare. I'm Betty B. Dudley.
And I'm Shad Youngblood.
As part of our Twisted Love Month, we're going to be discussing Return of the Living Dead 3.
They vowed to stay together forever, that their love would never die. But their pledge remained untested.
Oh, cool. No problem. I'm the boss's son, remember?
Until they went looking for a thrill and stumbled on the chilling fact.
Let's proceed.
That even the dead can go on living.
It came back to life.
We gotta get out of here.
And tonight, fate will put their promises to the test.
Oh my God.
Now that she's dead, he's frightened to live without her. But bringing her back is terrifying.
Oh, God, Kurt, that was incredible. Let's do it again.
Contain it, damn it! Seal it off now!
Is that what I'm gonna become?
These poor dead bastards crave brains.
She bit me, did. She gave you something bad.
I feel so hungry.
Never find you down here. What have you done?
If she attacks him, he becomes like her.
I just get a little confused sometimes.
Love never dies.
So I chose this film because it has a love, theme to it, which we'll expand upon more later. Exactly how I feel like it correlates to that, emotion. But this film I have very fond memories of. I watched it on TV. I don't even know how old I was when I saw it. It may have been maybe 1996 or 97 when I first viewed it. I loved it. I thought it was very entertaining, and that was the edited version. So when I saw the unedited version, I was like, oh, okay, boobs. Like,
Yeah, boobs aplenty.
yeah, I just remember there being, boobs in it. And that I also, really enjoyed the film. So Shad, like, when was the last time that you had seen this film?
I haven't seen it in, I don't know, since it came out. I rented it, I think, when it first came out, and then I really hadn't seen it since. It was the same thing with the Return of the Living Dead series is kind of weird. I mean, the first one everyone knows really well. The second one, they kind of did the Evil Dead 2 thing of, hey, let's just remake the movie, but let's play up the comedy, and we'll even have some of the same cast in it, but they're playing different characters.
Yeah.
So when the third one came out, I was kind of surprised that they didn't try and redo it again, But this one, like the second one, kind of disappeared for a while. There was a DVD of it early on, but it went out of print. You couldn't find it. It only just in the last year or maybe two came back out on Blu-ray from one of those smaller labels that's been doing, like it's Vestron Video. They've been releasing a lot of the titles like this that have disappeared for a long time, like this, Blood Diner, some of the others. So yeah, I hadn't seen it in a long time just because it really wasn't available anywhere.
So did you watch it in the theater or did you watch it on
I saw it on
TV?
video, yeah.
On video, okay. To begin the film, to start the film off, you have your grunge. The beginning of grunge is around this time. The kids are hanging around on a cliff, and
Because that's what you do when you're in a small town somewhere. You just hang out by the cliffs.
apparently, and they're having a good time. They're listening to music. They're shooting the shit.
California is all about it. The Lost Boys always hanging out by a cliff. Return of the Living Dead hanging out by cliffs.
Yeah, that's because they're living on the edge.
Ooh, I see what you did there.
So, you have the star of the film, Mindy Clark, known as Melinda Clark now because, she's grown up and doesn't need to show her tits anymore.
She's a serious actress now. She plays a dominatrix on CSI.
Yeah, she's super serious. Well,
Yeah.
she played Julie Cooper in the OC. I think that was her name. I vaguely remember her in the OC. I remember that she was like a bitch. I may or may not be wrong, but I feel like she has like that perfect bitch face.
All I remember about that show is that it existed.
Well, in this film, she's the star. She's the girlfriend of the guy that's, the father works on an army base.
Yes.
And
Hold on, but I love that in all the Return of the Living Dead movies, when they show like the colonel that's in charge of the army base, he's living in this mansion. And I believe it looks like the same mansion every time. It's huge, got the big columns out front, huge thing. Didn't know generals lived that well. I mean, I knew they would have a nice house, but this is a full on, like the Kardashians could be living there.
Apparently, this is like a thing. The perception of that the military, people have like all this money and this is what they're living. But I think that, he would have just lived on base in like reality. They're not gonna dish out.
He might have had a nice house on the nicest place on the base, but it would have still probably been on the base.
Totally, yeah, because that wasn't gonna be a thing where they were gonna be paying like his $3,000 rent. This is California, like this is not.
Gonna be like that place was gonna be like a $30,000 a month rent. The size of that. I love how this has the library with like hundreds of leather bound books in it. It's like it's telling the kid at one point, "Well, pack them up."
Smells of mahogany
and rich leather.
So here we have her boyfriend right up in his motorcycle, quote unquote, a dirt bike, and it's J. Trevor Edmond who's playing Kurt Reynolds, Curt, not how you would Kirk or Kurt with a K.
Well, you don't want to sound too German. Kurt with a K are usually Nazis.
Interesting. I didn't know that. He goes and picks her up, and they set off to go to his place where they have sex, because that's what teenagers do when the parents are not home. They're having sex, and they get it on, and the scene is very
did that happen, or did they go to the base first and then come back and get it on?
No. I remember them getting it on first. Or did they get it on afterwards?
It was after. They went to the base first because when he showed up, he showed her the key
and
said, "I got the key."
I went straight to the boobs, guys.
Yeah.
I was just like, boobs. She's laying in bed. There's like boobs.
So here we have the colonel in charge of a highly classified secret project involving zombies, who leaves his key card to get into the place just lying around his house for anyone to come and pick it up.
Anyone being his son.
Yes.
And when you are missing your key card, the first thought would be like, there's only one other person living in my house that could have taken it. Maybe it's my, 17-year-old mischievous son.
No.
Who's like a rebel. No, that thought doesn't come to his mind at all. That's right. They do go to the base first. While they're there, they, notice, they go like some random room, and they happen to watch the like body that they have wearing what I described as bondaged wear, but specifically it's pre-Fifth Element outfits that the zombie's wearing. And he's just hanging around in like one of those closed, like scientific looking rooms where the people are all wearing.
His outfit kind of looks to me like the swimsuit that Borat wore.
No, I don't know. We're not gonna see eye to eye. I thought specifically Fifth Element, like Lee Lu's outfit, but in red. This just I can't like help but not look at the crotch area. Because it was kind of like, it wasn't full, and you could see, like, the fabric kind of, like, it had, like, a lot of gap in it, and I was like, I feel so bad for this guy. Like, it's good that he's a zombie, because no one's going to be having sex with him. But he's there, and they shoot him up with the trioxin, and which is, as we know, is the chemical that
was accidentally released in the 60s that caused all the zombies from Night of the Living Dead. And instead of getting rid of those bodies in some way, I don't know, buried him in concrete somewhere. They decided, we'll just put him on a truck and drive him around.
Yeah, for like 30 years. Like,
yeah, and then they keep them in storage. They always lose these bodies. This is one of those things where, like, after so many times of losing the bodies, wouldn't you think that they would just be like, let's just get rid of these things for good?
No, it's the government. There's still like some laying around in some like dam somewhere. So yeah, they shoot him up and they're running a test to see like, is it gonna work? And he becomes reanimated. He comes back, and that really gets Julie hot. I go always back to the scene from that movie. I can't really think of the name right now. Where Student Bodies, where the guy's always telling the girl like, parade floats make me hot. Like, I guess like reanimated bodies make me hot. So her juices are flowing right now, and you know they're in awe, and they're trying not to get caught because there's one of the officers is walking around monitoring the area. And of course, in like classic fashion, something happens. Like her skull and bones pin,
and crossbone pin falls off and makes a loud enough noise that the guard hears it. And
then they not so cleverly or softly run away. I mean, it was just like, I mean, how it wasn't gonna be like a thing where they were running off like a soft and like quiet in the distance. They're wearing like combat boots and
it's okay
chains.
Though, because this was all pre 9/11, so the security on the base was so ridiculously lax that they just let him ride in on his motorcycle to begin with. Just, oh hey, you're the colonel's son. Go on in with this strange chick that no one's ever seen before. Just bring her on in the base. It's no problem.
So they leave. They're able to escape, and they go back to the house, and then they have sex.
There you go.
But while they're having the sex back on the base, they run into a snafu where they're taking the body and they're putting it back on the gurney, and they've shot it like full of some like frozen thing. It like freezes the body. That did not work out. The body like was already thawed by the time they put it back on the gurney. And
say goodbye to the two scientists putting it into the bag.
Yeah, unbeknownst to them, the zombie is awake, and he bites off the fucking guy's like arm, like his hand, and he gets attacked. And of course, everyone else gets attacked. It reminded me of that scene in Species when they're stuck in the room.
Except they weren't smart enough to have like a purge all button where just flamethrowers come down and burn everyone to crisps.
No, they were not. They were not smart at all. So that happens, and that's what starts the outbreak kind of on the base, where the shit is starting to go wrong. And also at the same time, there's going to be a change of command. And there's like a woman that's going to take place of Colonel Reynolds.
Because Reynolds' thing didn't work out like they thought with him being able to control them, they're going to put her in charge of it. And her idea is to put them all in Iron Man suits and send them into combat.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea. We find out later on that was just terrible thinking on her part.
But that's when the colonel goes home to tell the son, hey, we're going to have to pack up and we're going to have to move. They finish the set. They've already finished having sex by this point when the colonel gets there. And he tells the dad, no, I'm not doing that. I'm getting out of here. I'm just going to run away. They hop on the motorcycle, go driving around. And because they need to show that how crazy and reckless and carefree she is, she's grabbing these balls on the bike, you know, making him like the bike, like she's grabbing him to where the bike is like wiggling around. He's like, hey, stop, I don't think we should do this. Meanwhile, the giant truck is heading right towards them.
Yeah, like, I know what you did last summer fashion. They're like on one of those like cliffs. It's California, so they're like around like the edge of a mountain, whatever. Here comes this fucking thing coming around the bend. And I love her eyes. Like, they get so wide when she sees this truck coming over the bend, and she's like, oh shit, maybe you shouldn't have been playing with your boyfriend's balls, distracting him while you're in a very dingy ass, like, look like he made the bike in his fucking garage. Like,
and you're going 70 miles an hour on a winding California road.
Yeah, negative.
Maybe that should have been a surprise. And just play with these balls there.
Yeah, exactly. Can you pull over so I can play with your balls? We just had sex, though, like 10 minutes ago, but I'm ready to go. true chick fashion. And he's a young guy, so he might be ready to go too. But not on the bike. I mean, that would have been a whole other movie.
So they dodge the truck just barely, but she gets thrown off and thrown headfirst into the nearest phone pole.
Yeah, which that whole scene where she gets thrown against the phone pole like looks hilarious. Like she was sitting on something like open legged, like, and they just told her, okay, just put your arms out, put your head to the side, and we're just gonna push this like whatever the wheeling thing we have you on against it, and it's gonna look like you smashed up against this fucking tree.
Yep.
And so she dies. I mean, there's this whole like sad scene. He's literally calling out for help, like into like the darkness. There's no one around. I'm like, who's he talking to? That truck is gone. Like, there's no one on the road. Yeah, they totally didn't see him. And he's like, help me, you know, and it's just like, okay, that's just
so then,
sad
of course,
thing.
he comes up with the bright idea, well, I still have Dad's key card. I never gave that back. I'll just put her limp, lifeless body on the back of the bike and ride back into the base again. No one questions it. So he takes her in and he hooks her up with the trioxin. Opens the barrel, which they always conveniently leave sitting around. And of course she comes back, but for some reason that's never quite explained, she comes back with more of her memories and that intact. The rest of them all seem to come back, you know, immediately they're violent and eating people.
That's because of the process of death. So in all the other movies, the people were like bitten or scratched by the zombie, and then they start feeling ill, and then they're ill for like half of the movie until when it's like a desperate time in the movie, that's when they turn. She just died, so her body is fresh still. And she goes, I mean, it maybe had taken like 15 minutes maybe to get to this place. So she hadn't been dead for a really long time. And she didn't get bit or anything. She was just dead. And then she got the trioxin in her. And that's why you don't really see her instantaneously becoming like a zombie. That's my whole thought process on that. Because she was like fresh body, so to speak. She starts having like little convulsions and like seizures because, you know, she's like, oh, my neck hurts, and she has no memory of this whole car accident or bike accident that they have. So they, you know, he explains it to her, whatnot, blah blah blah. They go, and I don't know why, but if I'm gonna be in California, I'm not gonna be like, let's go to the hood, like let's go to South Central to like escape. That's not where I'm going.
It was really unclear,
like, especially
where they were at in California. They're near an ocean, but yet there's an army base, but yet the town didn't seem that big. So I was kind of confused about where they were at.
Yeah, it was like they were like in a mountainside, and then they were in South Central. So I'm not really, you know, we're not really that informed on the whole California way that works over there. But I'm sure it's not like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
There's South Central. From like, I don't even, this whole thing with her and her getting reanimated, and like
she's desperately hungry.
She's starving, and they go into this, you know, little grocery store, and it would be like, what was it, like a bodega kind of thing.
Yeah. And
you know, there's the typical Asian guy. If it wasn't gonna be an Asian guy, it was gonna be like the Indian guy, but they got an Asian guy in here, and he's looking around because there's like 4 or 5 Latinos like playing some random arcade game that happens to be in this. There's only one arcade game, and they happen to be playing it. And they're way old to be playing. I mean, I'm a gamer, so to speak, you know, so is Shad, but we're not randomly playing like arcade games in a bodega. Like, that's insane. But they are, and they look like they're like in their 40s. Like, these are not like people pretending to be like 20.
The youngest one might be 30.
Yeah, totally. And it would be the girlfriend. They're playing, and she comes in, and she just goes straight to Twinkies and the snow cone. What is
Snowball.
this? Snowballs.
She goes right for the hostess section.
Yeah, she's like, you know what? I'm starving, and what I need in my body is Hostess. That's gonna fill me up. She opens all the packages, eats it. She is not satisfied. She's disgusted by it, and she does not want any of it. So of course, she looks crazy, and she's eating that shit on the floor, and the Latinos like look over at her like, what the fuck is wrong with her? And it gets into like a little spat with the boyfriend because he's like, mind your business, and it just escalates from there. I feel like it was like, did they have the intention to rob this place the whole time? Were they gonna like play the video games and then rob the guy at the end of their like
because
video
while
game
a
playing?
few of them are having the argument with him, one of the guys decides to just hop the counter and start taking all the money out of the register. And of course, in stereotypical fashion, the Asian guy is packing like a .357 Magnum, and one thing leads to another, and he gets shot with his own gun.
He does, and it is tragic. And
then Melinda there, she manages to take a bite out of one of the Hispanic people, a large bite of their arm.
Yeah, she goes awful at it, and she's just like, this is the tastiest fucking thing I've ever had in my life. Like, In-N-Out Burger, fuck you. Like, I'm all about this meat.
It's kind of funny because they all crave brains, but they really just seem to like bite for arms and legs in this movie.
It's very difficult to get to the brain. I feel like maybe if they had like these industrialized straws that they have now, like those steel straws, you could have just stabbed them right, like Killer Clown style, like stab them right in the head, use the straw to suck the brains out. But you gotta go for the appendages because that's like the easiest thing to get.
So the two, zombie girl and that, they decide to flee. And of course, what do? You just steal the nearest van that's there.
Oh yeah, because the Latinos like fucked up their dirt bike.
Yeah.
On the way out.
So you got to steal the nearest van that's there, and then instead of like the owner actually comes out, it's like, please take me to the hospital. Instead of when the police arrive, say, hey, look, he got shot in the scuffle. We need to take him to the hospital. Nope, they run off and a car chase, and guess what? The owner gets accidentally shot by the police, which will still get blamed on them.
Yeah, they run out because he's scared that the police are already looking for him because of what happened in the base. And, there was a shot back in the base where now the base knows what happened. The father, like, they were caught on video that they broke in and they reanimated her. So they are on the lookout. Actually, that portion of that part of the movie, it was hilarious because they were like, okay, now we're in pursuit, and they're in a fucking tanker. Like, they're gonna roll out, like, in this big fuck tanker, like, oh, no one's gonna notice me strolling the streets looking for...
And this giant, like, army truck.
That could not be going that fast, because it is huge. So they are doing that, and so he's paranoid. Kurt is paranoid that they're after him, so that's why he flees. And the Asian guy try to leave and jump out of the van, because that's what you do when you're like got shot in the stomach. You're like, I'm gonna roll out this van, through the back, because he's trying to get to the hospital, but it doesn't work out for him. He gets killed, and then of course, someone in the front, aka Julie, is like, oh shit, it's fucking dinner time, and she goes back and she starts eating him.
Sure, like you do.
And Kurt stops the car, and he goes to the back and is like disgusted with her. And this disgust like continues on. Probably for like the next, I don't know, like 30 minutes, where he's just berating her. She's disgusting to him. Like, they have a spat in like the fucking alley. Like, she runs away in a huff. And she goes to like a fucking curry, like, she decides that she's gonna
throw herself off the bridge into the 6 inches of water that's running down there underneath it, because I'm pretty sure this is filmed in that spot in California where all the car chases are at.
Yeah.
She throws herself in there, washes down the like I said, the 6-inch stream. She washes down that a while until he finds her, which, I guess helped her, get her hair slicked back a little bit for some of the scenes later on, but
wash the dead off of her a little bit.
And that's where he meets the Riverman.
The Riverman.
Like a lot of the movies in the 80s and 90s had to have the wise homeless guy that was roaming around there that...
He's seen some shit, man. He's like, you know what? I'm homeless, but I know shit, and I'm gonna impart my wisdom upon you.
Yep.
Like, but I don't think he had any, like, true wisdom to impart on them. It was all, like, gibberish. I was like, Riverman, you need to sit down.
And then also, you've got the Hispanic guys driving around looking for them now because since she bit the guy, he's, of course, getting sick. Yeah, so instead of taking him to the hospital, they just decide to drive around with him in the car, sweating, sick, looking yellower and more, disgusting as time goes on. Don't take him to the hospital. Let's just drive around and find one of the people that bit him. That'll be fine. That's what we're going to do. We're going to kick her ass, and that'll make him better.
Yeah, and, at the same time this is happening, Kurt and Julie are still having their argument, and he goes and proceeds and tells her, like, certain things, and I had to make a note. He told her, I like the way you used to be. And I'm like, bro, what was that, alive? Like, she's been dead for like 4 hours probably at the max. To me, it's been probably like an hour. But I'm like, what are you insinuating there? Yes, she is now dead. So what you're saying is I liked you more when you were alive and less whiny. I mean...
But to be fair, they do make up at this point and have sex again.
Yes. Well, no, they don't have sex yet. They have sex like right before they're in the tunnel. And it's right before she goes through, like, her crazy fucking transformation. Because she hasn't done what I call the Christina Ricci to herself yet. She, during the spat when she runs away and he finally gets her, she's, like, all, like, laying in the, she's, like, floated down from, like, the 6 inches of water. And he, like, wakes her up. And in that process, she, like, finds out that... by hurting herself, she actually is like dulling the hunger, and the pain makes the hunger go away. So when they go into like the sewer, or the tunnel, I would say it was the sewer. But right before they have the sex, they have the makeup sex, and so he's now a necrophiliac because he just had sex with a dead body. So he's all about that now. And while he's sleeping, she just goes crazy and just starts putting all kinds of glass and...
Yeah, this is the point where she suddenly, like, showed up with, like, a lip ring, and we never actually saw her get the lip ring.
Yeah, and then they're multiplying like gremlins. Then she gets another lip ring.
Yeah, we never saw either one get put in, but they just suddenly appeared.
Yeah, she's like, now lip rings, now she has, like, nipple rings... where did she find all this stuff? Is this the stuff that people throw away, like, in a fucking sewer in the quarries? Like, she gets all these random, like, earrings and, like, pieces of glass. And then there's, like, a rock that she decides. I want to know what the thought process was. Let me put this, like, string of fabric, wrap it around into this fucking rock, and I'm going to hang it off, like, my hand. What was that about?
I don't know where that came from. That was a different, like, that was probably something they had, a gag they had left over from another movie that they just said, we'll just throw it into this one.
So she's, doing her thing off in, like, another area of the tunnel. And the guys, now the Latino guys and the girlfriend, they've ran into the Riverman. The Riverman, like, takes them to where they are.
Well, no, they just went down into sewers. I don't remember what exactly got them to see it, but they went down to the sewers and found the Riverman sleeping in front of the door. He was kind of guarding the door.
Yes.
And there's like 6 inches of sewer water that they're holding the Riverman's head into to try and get him to open the door.
So, yeah, they get him to do it, and they collide with the dude, with Kurt. And they're gonna kill him. Like, they got the gun to the head, they beat him up, the whole thing. Here swings very slowly. Julie is coming out of the room where she's had her, like, glass makeover. And she looks insane.
She's got metal sticking out of her, glass everywhere. She's sewn a chain into her neck. She's got the nipples pierced, which in 1993 you didn't see that much.
I mean, she's totally, like, heavy metaled goth out. She's, like, all over the place. And
the one Hispanic guy immediately is just like, hey, baby.
he's turned the fuck on. He's like, it's weird and I like it, and he like is like caressing her with his big ass like crocodile Dundee knife. Like, it's insane. And they go off back into the room. Like, she lures him into the room. And needless to say, he became head over heels for her.
Yes, and by that I mean she pulled his head, including his spine, about 3/4 of the way out of his body and left him like a makeshift giraffe. He's literally stumbling around with a giant spine. You know, it's like you turn him into Mechanic from Masters of the Universe, where he's got the super long neck. He's peering over, doorways, looking at people. It's insane.
The other friend, the guy that first got infected by her with the arm bite, he's now turned.
He immediately eats his girlfriend because, you got to eat the ones you love.
And now there's just like the ratio of like zombie to like humans is like equal. There's like Kurt, Riverman, and the other Spanish guy. And then like the girlfriend, the Spanish guy, and we're all, obviously we're going to count Julie. They're all zombified. And it's like, oh shit, things go awry and like fucking chaos ensues. And I really love like the whole giraffe neck like Latin guy.
He's
just
peeking over the door, looking at him, making crazy eyes and trying to bite him.
So, yeah, this whole like scene, I don't know. It felt kind of long to me. I did want to like move along. It may have been because I don't want to say bored. For me, it's one of those movies where like I loved it when I was younger, and then revisiting it, I was like, yeah, it's okay. But I have to make a point that the film is unique in the sense that even though it's a sequel, it doesn't stray. It's its own movie, but without straying away from the original concept of that the trioxin affected, the people, they become zombies, and then here we are. Because the second one's very much like the first one. Like, it's the same thing, more or less. They get infected. They're raising out from the cemetery. They go to the place where the people are. They're in a facility. They were in a home in the first one. Here they're like in that building, and it's kind of like the same thing, different scenario, but more or less the same thing. This one is it stands on its own.
Yeah,
like it's its own movie. It carries elements from the first movie, but it's completely different. So I do appreciate that, like, part of like that whole concept of the film. So here we are, we got the Latino people are getting all taken out because she's killing them with the fucking rock fabric thing, and she's trying to protect her boyfriend. Then we have like the army people. They've like left the base. They've been looking around town for Julie and the guy's son, and it all kind of like collides.
Yeah, everybody ends up in the same place, and of course, with the advantage of the army is they've got the special, zombie freezing gun.
Yeah.
That they use on all of them, and just take them all back to the base.
And, at this point, the boyfriend, Kurt, he's kind of like done with her. She's been eating people, and she has blood all over her. And he's like, you know what? This is not a good relationship for me anymore. I'm going to check off box single, because I'm going to opt out of this relationship because I can't handle it. And she gets separated from them. It looked like she was going to attack him from the army people's like, perspective, but she wasn't. He steps to the side and like lets them do what they need to do. And they all end up back on the base. And, of course, like in whatever fashion, here he is like roaming the halls and goes to like the bioengineering section of the facility, and he looks in and he sees like all the zombies are like locked up in cages, and there's Julie all naked and frightened looking, and he sees that in the other room they've actually had the Riverman, and they're making him into like Iron Man.
Yeah, they're cutting off some of his limbs, putting on robotic parts, putting an exoskeleton thing around him. He's got like a weird metal bondage gag in. It's very strange. I'm not really clear how that was supposed to. Were they going to control them remotely or what? I don't know. It was very unclear what they were going to do with that.
So that doesn't work out. So of course, there's two different things happening. That's happening in one room. In the other room, there's another scientist, and I guess he's like taking like the readings, and he proceeds, this scientist guy proceeds to tell Kurt like they're like nefarious plans, like what's gonna happen specifically to like these zombies. They're gonna be made into like army whatever people, and they're gonna be like on the front lines and controlled by them and whatnot, and Julie is gonna be one of them. And of course the boyfriend like freaks out. He like breaks Julie out of there. The freaking the same time in the other room, the other guy like breaks free. He's losing his shit. The other zombie Riverman is out.
Riverman's going crazy, and they realize now that the mistake of putting like a exoskeleton that makes you stronger around the top part of a zombie.
Yeah, and he definitely goes to town and takes everyone out, and then he comes out, attacks the other scientist there, and this is where the film is just like, okay, now we have the outbreak in the army base.
Yep, everyone's running amok. There's zombies everywhere, eating people, taking bites out of them. The female colonel that had taken over, I love the part where she's just standing behind a barrel with a shotgun, just shooting.
Yeah, and they're trying to escape. Now, you have to like refresh my memory. What between that and what happens in the end? How it is that? What happens to the dad? Because I forgot what happens.
The dad is he makes it out okay. Kurt and Julie are going through the hallway when one of the zombies attacks him, and he tries to push it away. He gets bitten, and he knows now that there's no hope. He's bitten. He's going to die. He's going to turn into one of the zombies. So the dad is trying to like hold the door open for them and tell them, "Hey, come on out, come on out." He's telling the son, rather, just leave her behind. She's dead. You can't help her. You need to come on out. He's like, "No, Dad, I've been bitten too." So he pushes the dad away. The doors seal, and the two of them are trapped in there now.
And it's like an incinerator.
Well, they go to an incinerator area.
Oh, okay.
They go to the area where there's an incinerator, and they open it up. And kind of like in the first movie where the guy got into the incinerator and killed himself, they get in there together, and their love is so strong, they just walk into the fire and kiss each other while they burn up.
Oh, wait, that happens in the first movie? And then it happens in the second movie, too?
Yes.
Oh, that's like the main, like...
That's kind of a consistent theme, is that somebody's going in the incinerator in every one of these movies.
Yes, and they burn together forever and ever. So, the twisted love is that this is actually a Romeo and Juliet story wrapped up with Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
This is totally like, she's gonna commit suicide, he's gonna join her, and they're just gonna suicide it out together and live undeadly, not happy after.
But and I enjoyed this movie again too, but what's funny is that the director of it, Brian Usna, this is probably the most normal movie he's made, because he's been involved with with the Reanimator movies. He directed, and I believe he wrote Society, which if you haven't seen is one of the weirdest movies out there. They had to have used more slime in that movie than in Ghostbusters.
I wish I had never seen this movie. I actually saw it last year for the first time in my whole life. It's something you cannot unsee. I do not recommend it. It's too much.
We'll save that because we're going to do an episode someday of the I wish I'd never seen that, or I can't scrub that image from my mind.
Yeah, aka body horror.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But so Brian Usna, for him, this is a fairly normal, straightforward movie.
Yeah, totally normal. Like,
considering that
having sex with a dead girl, that's not even.
Although it is kind of a theme in Reanimator movies too.
Oh yeah, that is.
Dead people are always trying to get on with Barbara Crampton or whoever.
Yeah, but can you blame him? I mean, it's Barbara Crampton.
and From Beyond. There was all kinds of crazy stuff in there. But anyhow, yeah. So like I said, Brian Usna, he's I gotta say he's a pretty good director on these. Even if you don't like Society, it's a well directed movie. So
Yeah, Kurt Reynolds, who plays Kurt Reynolds, the character, J. Elmore, forgot his last name, the boyfriend in the movie. He was in Pumpkinhead 2, and he was also credited to be in, what was the other movie? Um, oh, Pumpkinhead 2, and then some other random movie that he was in, but he wasn't the main character in the movie. He was just like side. So like he did like two other horror movies after that. I think he has like maybe like 6 film credits under his belt. Not too many. And we all know like where Melinda Clark is from.
yeah, and the father is actually played by Kent McCord, who has gone on. He did a TV series in the '70s called Adam 12, where he played a cop. He was also the father in Farscape. He's known for showing up playing, cops, army people in various movies like that. He's one of those kind of dependable actors you can get that looks good in the cop uniform, so they get him to play it a lot.
Yeah, he has a stature. J. Trevor Edmund, that's his name, and he was in Lord of Illusions.
Okay.
He was a character in Lord of Illusions. So he has some movies under his belt. The interesting thing about that, there's some veteran actors in the film that plays. You have James Callahan, who was Colonel Peck in the movie, and he's from Charles in Charge.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was pretty fucking hilarious.
You have Sarah Douglas, who plays the colonel that takes over, and she, of course, is well known for playing. I can't remember what her name was, but she was the female Kryptonian of the group that came in Superman 2.
Yes. Here she has like longer hair, but she has a strong bone structure. So like that was the first thing I remember. You were like, "Oh, look who it is! She's from this so and so." So yeah, just I hope that you guys, if you haven't seen this film, you should totally watch it. If you have seen it, it's been a while, take a revisit. It encapsulates like the 90s, the clothing. There's not so much music in the film. But
I don't think they had music money, so
no, it moves at an okay pace. It is entertaining. The zombies look awesome. I mean, there's that one zombie from the beginning. I thought it was gonna be the tar man that was gonna roll out of the damn thing there, but he didn't roll out. It was some other fucking zombie that rolled out of that container, and that zombie like had like flesh from his face like attached to like the shoulder.
it was kind of like his arm was fusing into his body.
Yeah, and he like breaks away, and when the skin breaks away, now he's like half skeleton, half like zombie. It looked awesome. It's hilarious because, but also awesome at the same time. So there's some pretty decent kills in the film. I give the film, I'm gonna say 2.5 stars. Oh, sorry. Stabs, knives. 2.5 knives.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's pretty good. It's a good movie, but it's just good. I wouldn't say it's not terrible, but it's not amazing either. It's in the middle.
No, it's definitely, I mean, the 90s were a rough time for horror films. Like, the beginning of the 90s was like, then like mid-90s, there was like rarely any movies. Scream picks it up and really revitalizes the whole genre. And then from then on, it's just like horror movie after horror movie. Like every 5 seconds, there was a different horror movie that was coming out. There was a time frame there where horror films were like blah. There weren't a lot. They were few and far between. So this one, kind of stays strong in the beginning of the 90s. And it's our pick for Twisted Love Month. So you should just grab your girl, grab your boyfriend, sit around and watch this film together.
Exactly.
Okay, that wraps up our episode of Return of the Living Dead Part 3, part of our Twisted Love Month. Do us a favor, leave us a review, subscribe. We're now on we're on podcasts, iTunes.
We're on Podbean.
Podbean, sorry.
Podbean, iTunes, and we're also going to start uploading the episodes to YouTube in audio format.
Yes, I meant to say we have a podcast on Podbean. Leave us a review, a like. That'd be greatly appreciated. And once again, stay tuned to the horror.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.